Alright, so in my last video, I talked about what I want to see in the post-reboot Marvel Cinematic Universe, and in this video, I want to go over specific projects that I want to see. The Infinity Saga ended with Avengers Endgame, and the Multiverse Saga is going to end with Avengers Secret Wars in 2027. Now, within these sagas, Marvel breaks them down into 3 different phases. So we had phases 1, 2, and 3 in the Infinity Saga, and 4, 5, and 6 in the Multiverse Saga. In this video, I'm going to say my pitch for phases 7, 8, and 9, which will make up the Mutant Saga. Before we get started, I just want to say that I put comic drawings in my last video, pictures of comic book drawings. I feel like I know a lot about Marvel, but I have barely read any comics. The only ones that I've read are Fantastic Four Life Story and Spider-Man Life Story, and those are both graphic novels, not actual comics. Take this all with a grain of salt. This is not based on any leaks. This is not really based on the comics. This is just based on my knowledge and my opinions alone. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first movie in the Mutant Saga will not have to do with any mutants, but it will be Black Panther 3. Jameson Idris is already signed on to play T'Challa. I don't really know what the plot should be. I'm gonna let Ryan Coogler decide that, but the second movie of the Mutant Saga will have to do with mutants. I want that to be the Uncanny X-Men. The team will be Professor X, of course, but then the actual team will be Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Beast, Rogue, and Gambit. I feel like this is just a good mix of characters. I know it's not like a traditional, I don't know, these are just the characters that I want to see. In the movie, I hope Mr. Sinister is the main villain. We haven't gotten him in any of the X-Men movies yet. I also want Magneto in the movie, but not as the villain. I try to make all these videos quick, and so they hold people's attention, because that's the name of the game with YouTube, but it's really hard to do. So I don't know. Right now I'm gonna write my slate. I'm just gonna come up with a quick slate to talk to you guys about. Again, this video is very unscripted. Yeah, so after Black Panther and the X-Men, I would want to see Fantastic Four New Frontier. This would, hopefully, they would go into space and maybe they discovered the negative zone. You could have Annihilus teased at the end. The 2 shows for that year, I would want a Doom show, kind of in the same vein as the Loki show. It would go over his origin. This would be a recast Doom, not Robert Downey Jr. You make Mephisto the villain, and it's about his mom. And then I would want a Young Avengers show. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone, because that's where I wrote all of this. A Young Avengers show would hopefully focus on, Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop, Cassie Lang, Wiccan and Speed. They've introduced all these young Avengers, and they've done nothing with them. So I'd want to do a Young Avengers show. That would also establish that there is a previously formed Avengers team in this universe. Maybe have the new Steve Rogers cameo or something, I don't know. Year 2 of Phase 7, I would want to start it off with Spider-Man New Friends. This would have Daredevil and Spider-Man teaming up against Mr. Negative. The show that would lead right into this is Daredevil Born Again Season 3, which would have Daredevil beating Fisk, hopefully. So there'd be a power vacuum in New York for who the mob boss is, and Mr. Negative would take the place, so they'd have to fight Mr. Negative in Spider-Man 5. I would also want to see Miles Morales introduced. Maybe he gets bit by the spider in this movie. The next movie is Doctor Strange in the Nexus of Nightmares. I would want to see Doctor Strange and Clea team up against Nightmare in the Nightmare realm. And then the last movie is Iron Man 4. I, again, would want to see them recast Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Thor. So everybody that's old, maybe Hulk too. It'd be nice to see another Iron Man movie. The last show would be Moon Knight Season 2. And I'd want them at the end to tease Midnight Suns. So maybe he gets recruited by Blade or something. The last year of Phase 7 would start off with Captain America Serpent Society. This would have Sam Wilson's Captain America and Steve Rogers' Captain America. I like both. I think they can work together. So I don't want to have both fighting the Serpent Society. That makes some sense too, because the Serpent Society, you know, it's like 6 people. I don't know the Serpent Society that well, but I would assume they might need more than one person to fight them. And I would want to have a Nova movie set completely in space. That would be really cool. I really like this next idea, Thunderbolts World War. I don't like the title, but this would essentially be a Thunderbolts sequel that is them against Hulk. And it's a World War Hulk movie, essentially, just with the Thunderbolts name, because Marvel's not allowed to make a Hulk movie. The 2 shows that I would want to see this year would be Wolverine is the first one, and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would have like Clint Barton, Rhodey, Black Widow, you know, a bunch of like non-powered people. Just each episode's like a different mission, and they have a different villain. Maybe that'd be kind of cool. And then the Wolverine show, I would want the first like 3 episodes take place during the American Revolution. Maybe the next 2 are during the Civil War. Maybe the next 2 are World War II, and he could fight with Steve Rogers. You could redo Steve Rogers' origin there. And then maybe the last 2, he's like fighting in present day. Ooh, at the end he meets Magneto. Phase 8 starts off with Blade. I would totally want Mahershala Ali to play Blade, but I'm not sure how likely that is anymore, just because it's taken forever. The next movie would be Thor Odinson. I'd want to establish Beta Ray Bill in that movie, and hopefully the whole thing would take place in space. Maybe they could meet Nova. And then I'd want Fantastic Four, The Depths of Doom. It would have the Fantastic Four teaming up with Doom in this movie. Maybe Kang is the villain. That'd be kind of cool. This would lead into Doom Season 2, which I have no idea what the plot of that would be, but I'd want to see another season of Doom. And then an Ant-Man and the Wasp show. I think it'd be cool to set this in like the 60s or the 90s, maybe the 2000s at this point. But it would be Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne instead of Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne. Just because I'd want the original Ant-Man and the Wasp. Year 2 of Phase 8 would start off with Spider-Man Big Game. This would have Spider-Man and Kraven both going after Venom. So in the last movie, Spider-Man had the black suit and he like ripped it off maybe at the end. This would have Kraven and Spider-Man both trying to like compete to get the Venom symbiote. He could give the symbiote to Reed Richards, and you could set up like an Agent Venom storyline maybe. But I would really want this to be Kraven's last hunt. The next movie would be X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants. This would see the X-Men team, right, fighting against Magneto and his Brotherhood of Mutants. In the Brotherhood, I'd want to see like Mystique, Juggernaut, Emma Frost, I don't know, but also Wolverine. I would want Wolverine to be against the X-Men. And the last movie would be Avengers Annihilation, which would see the Avengers team teaming up with maybe the Fantastic Four, fighting Annihilus and the Annihilation Wave. The 2 shows for that year are both mutant focused. The first one would be about Xavier's school. You could like introduce Sunspot, Jubilee, all these different like younger mutants, maybe to have them be the main characters in the next saga, so after all of this. And then I'd want to see Gambit House of Cards. There's this YouTuber by the name of Full Fat Videos. Years ago, he pitched a bunch of Marvel movies, and one of them I like loved, and I've loved ever since. It's like a Die Hard style movie, so set in one building over one day, but it's Hawkeye, and he's only got like 6 arrows the whole time, right? I'd want to do that, but with Gambit, just because he could have like a deck of cards or something, that's it. But he like has to fight his way up to a building to save like a hostage. Just be a cool story. The last year of Phase 8 would have Midnight Suns. I'd want to see Ghost Rider probably and Blade as the main characters, but also Doctor Strange, Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, Moon Knight, Elsa Bloodstone, all those characters, like the supernatural characters. And this would maybe be the end of the supernatural saga. You could put Ironheart and the Hood in there, and maybe they could fight Mephisto and like finally defeat him or something. Post-credit scene, Doom shows up and is like talking to Strange about forming a group. Then I would want a Silver Surfer movie. This would be Norrin Rad. There's this guy named Lake, I think his name is Laketh, and then his last name starts with an S. He was a policeman in the Knives Out movie. This is the actor. He tweeted before Fantastic Four came out that he thought he was cast as as Silver Surfer. So I'd want him to play Norrin Rad. I think he's a pretty good actor. This would show Silver Surfer roaming the cosmos, maybe going to find Galactus after Fantastic Four First Steps. Then I would want to see X-Men Out of Time. This would show Kang back as like the villain. I'm kind of setting Kang up as like the main antagonist for the whole saga. Kang would be taking the X-Men like throughout time. Maybe they meet Bishop and you establish Cable. And the two shows for that year would be Magneto and the Twins. Just go into like the motivations of Magneto and his backstory with Xavier maybe, and then also talk about two of his three kids, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Then I would want to see the West Coast Avengers. Maybe you throw Wonder Man, Hank Pym and Jenna Van Dyne, Vision, maybe She-Hulk, Shang-Chi, a cool group of characters, and just have them form a team. You can make multiple seasons of the show, have them fight like the Masters of Evil. It'd be cool. I'm gonna go to my school right now and get some homework done, and that is where I'll tell you about Phase 9, like the conclusion of this mutant saga. So, let's go. All right, I'm back at school. I'm on the balcony, which is where I used to study a bunch. I'm hoping to get my homework done. We'll see how much I actually do. Let me open this. As for the last phase, it's going to start off with a movie titled The Sentry. This will basically be a psychological thriller about Bob and the Sentry, like the guy in Thunderbolts. I would hope that it shows like that he's the most powerful person in the Marvel universe. That'd be pretty cool. The next one, sorry, there was someone there, so I had to hide. Okay, the next movie that I want to do is Deadpool versus Squirrel Girl. Both of them in the comics, probably most people who are watching this don't know who Squirrel Girl is. Maybe you do, I don't know. But Deadpool and Squirrel Girl both are people that had a comic run where they killed like the entire Marvel universe. And so I'd want a movie that's like just completely like a joke, but funny, and it's between the two of them. Like maybe Squirrel Girl actually does die, because that never happens in these like versus movies. The next movie would be Annihilators. It would have Beta Ray Bill, it would have Nova, it would have Silver Surfer, Adam Warlock, who comes in from the Guardians of the Galaxy show. I don't know who the villain would be. Maybe make it Thanos, to be honest. There would also be a Guardians of the Galaxy show that year that would have like Rocket and Adam Warlock, Groot, basically the team that we saw at Cosmo, basically the team that we saw at the end of Guardians 3. The other show would be The Summers. It would have Scott Summer and Jean Grey, his like wife, I guess, going back in time with Cable, trying to fix everything that happened in X-Men Out of Time, where they like messed up a bunch of timelines with Kang. I just think this would be an interesting show. Maybe you put Hope Summers in there too, which is their daughter. That brings me to year 2, which would start with Spider-Man Legacy. This would kind of be, Peter's like, maybe he has a kid in this movie, maybe he gets married. This would kind of be the movie where he passes the torch to Miles. Not that he's like done being Spider-Man or anything like that, but maybe Miles is like actually a superhero in this. Maybe he's the main character. Then I would want to do Avengers versus X-Men, which would just like that. Everybody wants to see that movie. It would be awesome. And it's kind of like my Civil War for this saga, where they would split and would not be together at the upcoming Avengers movies. The last movie would be X-Force, where you could just have a bunch of different mutants, like, I don't know, Colossus, and you just have a bunch of different mutants to show off more. Maybe Deadpool can be in this movie too. The shows for this would be Future Foundation, which would show like Franklin and Valeria Richards and kind of the more scientific aspects of the Fantastic Four. Maybe they pop up in a couple episodes. And then Doom Season 3. That Doom Season 3 would lead us right into the first movie of the last year, which would be the Illuminati. The Illuminati would kind of just form, and maybe they'd fight like Ultron or something. I don't know. I don't really know. Then I would want the last Fantastic Four movie, the fourth one, Fantastic Four Final Fantasy. I know that's a name of like a video game, but I couldn't think of another F word. I couldn't think of another F word. I can think of one now, but that'd be the last Fantastic Four movie. I'd have no idea what you do. And then I would want to see Avengers Age of Apocalypse, where the Avengers fight the, Apocalypse. And it's like the Avengers have to... I would want the movie to start out with Kang as the main villain. Or maybe it's Avenger... No, this is what I do. This year is going to have 4 movies and no shows. So it'd be the Illuminati, and then Fantastic Four 3, or Fantastic Four 4, and then Avengers the Kang Dynasty, where Kang is the main villain, but instead of the Avengers beating him at the end of the movie, actually Apocalypse does. So, we've seen Thanos be built up, and then they fight Thanos, and they lose, and then they win. We're going to see, them kind of set up Kang, and then we get Doom in Doomsday and Secret Wars. Throughout this saga, I would want to set up Kang as like the big bad, and we get Avengers Kang Dynasty, but then at the end of the movie, the Avengers don't actually beat him. It's the villain of the next movie, which is different, that beats him. So Apocalypse shows up like right at the end and just like wipes the floor with Kang, which leads us directly into Avengers Age of Apocalypse. Okay. All right, yeah, I have nothing else to say, so goodbye.